So what's going on, guys? My name's Ash and welcome back to a brand new video on the channel today. I hope you're all having a fantastic day so far. I hope you're all enjoying your Easter holiday if you have got it off. In this video I'm talking about FIFA esports and why I personally don't think it will ever be a proper esport unless EA change their ways, which we're going to be talking about in this video. This is just my opinion, guys. You can feel free to agree or disagree. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say regarding this topic because it is quite an interesting one. But yeah, just before we get into the video, guys, I would appreciate it if you could drop it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new so you never miss out on any videos like this one. Be sure to comment down below what types of videos you would like to see, and yeah, guys, I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. So as you guys are probably full aware, FIFA esports has grown massively in the past few years with the introduction of FUT Champions. I'm sure you all know, but this is EA's competitive game mode in FIFA 19 other than Division Rivals. This was what was originally used to qualify for events and all of the important stuff back in FIFA 17 and 18. Currently you can still earn pro points from the weekend league, but yeah, it's not like the main method of qualification for events since they have like these online qualifiers. But what you should know is you do need to be FUT Champions verified in order to compete in these online qualifiers, which means you have had to have hit, 27 wins in at least one weekend league. But anyways, yeah, in the past few years FIFA has been completely revolved around FUT Champions because of the rewards, because of the qualification for events, because it's basically the only game mode worthwhile in the game, other than arguably like Rivals or something. Anyway, long story short, it's made the game hyper competitive and it's got a lot of people into competitive FIFA, and it's turned what was supposedly a casual game into a very sweaty, high intensity competitive game. So anyways, yeah, EA keep trying to push FIFA as an esport, and we're going to be talking about why I don't think it's working. The first thing we're going to be talking about is pay to win and how this has a massive effect, because essentially people can pump £1,000, £2,000 into a game, get a full team of like prime icons at the start of the year or whatever. You probably wouldn't get that, but you'd have a better team than everybody else, which just gives you a competitive advantage because obviously these cards have better stats, better stamina, they're just better players, meaning you're going to have an easier time winning. And this is completely unfair because it doesn't put people on a level playing field, and it's basically saying if you put money into the game, you're going to be better than someone that doesn't. And I can't stress how important this is, because a pay to win model just has no place in esports because it's not showing who the best players are, it's showing who can put the most money in the game and who has, somewhat thumbs to go with it. Because I'm not saying somebody that is absolutely terrible at the game, who's given the best team in the game, will beat someone that just has like a non-rare gold team. I'm not saying that. You obviously have to know what you're doing slightly with a team like that. But what I am saying is, if somebody with that god team went up against someone of the same skill level with someone with like a lower team, the guy with the better team's going to win, and that's because they've put more money into the game. And you can argue, yes, we have Road to Glories, we have loads of ways to earn packs and stuff, but at the start of the year, you're not going to have the time to grind all these packs in time for like the first qualifier, which happens within the first couple of months of the game, because your team is still going to be way behind those that have put money into the game, and it just creates an unlevel playing field where people that put more money in the game have a competitive advantage, and that just should not be the case in an esport. You look at all the popular esports at the minute, like League of Legends, Fortnite even, CSGO, these are all games that have, a level playing field for everyone. There's no competitive advantage for somebody based on like money they put in the game or anything else. Everybody goes into the game with the same things. You can argue that when people get to these events at FIFA, they have all of these players unlocked on the account, and yeah, that's great because it's good to see, people playing with like the same level players at events and stuff. But how do these people get to these events? Well, they play with unevenly balanced teams where their teams are better than everybody else is playing in the qualifiers, and even some of the pros have, a worse team but somehow still manage to win. I'm just saying it's unfair, that's all. Now the next thing we're going to be talking about is the prize pools, and I think these are absolutely laughable at times, like genuinely I do. Like the whole point of a good esport is that it's meant to be able to give good players a career career in that game. I'm going to use Fortnite for an example again, but you look at their World Cup thing that they're putting $100 million into, and like the person that wins it gets like $1 million, something stupid, $5 million, I can't even remember. But basically everybody that qualifies for these events, everybody that's good enough to, you know, be a pro player at this game makes a good living out of it. And that's got to be there for a successful esport. You cannot have an inconsistent prize pool where you pretty much have to win the event to either make it worth it or to at least, you know, break even on what you've spent. Because if you think about how much money these pros put into the game, like we've just spoken about with the pay to win, some of them put 2,000, 3,000, maybe more pounds into the game, and if they finish like 8th at a world event in FIFA, they get something stupid like £850, where like it's not even worth it. You've still lost money on the game this year. It's bad enough that you have to pay that much money to compete in the events because of like the pay to win aspect, but what's even worse is that when you have put in this money, you have to pretty much win the event to at least make your money back. And I'm telling you now guys, this is not a money issue for EA. These guys are absolutely loaded. They make billions and billions from Ultimate Team, so I don't want anybody saying it's because EA don't have the funds to do it, because they most definitely do. I'll tell you what it is, it's greed, and they just, you know, want to give out the bare minimum while still raking in as much as possible, which is, you know, smart from a company perspective, but it just makes you look like a bunch of arseholes. Anyway, yeah, the prize pools are putting people off playing the game, because like they're like, even if I do get to this level, even if I am that good, it's not worth it because I'm not going to be able to make a substantial living out of it. So they're just going to get a real job. Next up is quite a bit of a strange one, but it's the yearly releases of the game, and I think this is a massive problem for FIFA, and I'm going to explain why. Every year at the start of a game, FIFA is unbalanced, FIFA has its issues, FIFA has its community uproar because something's overpowered, something's underpowered, something doesn't work, you get the point. Basically every year they release a new game, they've changed the code so much that there's always going to be problems at release. It just wouldn't make sense for there not to be any issues, because it's pretty much impossible not to have bugs if you're pretty much making the game different every year. My point is, the yearly releases create so many bugs, create so many overpowered mechanics and underpowered mechanics, that when EA finally manage to balance them out later in the year, if they can be bothered, it's almost time for the new release of the game, and there's, you know, it's the end of the tournament season, so it's irrelevant. In order for FIFA to be a good esport, it needs to just have a standalone game called FIFA that gets updates, fixes, content updates and everything like that, because what it'll allow EA to do is just build on the code, fix the issues without creating further ones, and it just allows for a much more solid and enjoyable game, because when they get it right, the community will be happy. The downside is EA probably won't make as much money, but what they could do is add like a subscription feature. I don't know. You will also see consistent names in the competitive scene as well, because the game is pretty much the same all the time, so it's not always changing. People aren't always having to adapt. Like in FIFA 19, there's pros that weren't there in FIFA 18 because they weren't good at that meta. You get my point. Anyway, yeah, I think yearly releases really cause a big problem when it comes to the competitive nature of the game, because it just creates too many issues for it to be successful. Now next up, I think the computer interference with FIFA is just far too much for it to ever be considered a true esport, and I know this is going to be unpopular with a lot of people, but if you think about when people are playing 1v1 games of FIFA, just, you know, like your bog standard match of Ultimate Team, the ones that people play at the events, you're controlling one player at a time, which is about like less than 10% of your team. You're controlling less than 10% of your team, while the computer is doing the rest, so you pretty much have minimal impact on what really goes on, because the computer is doing a lot of the work. Now I'm not saying you can't be consistently good at 1v1s like you've seen F2 Techs and all that, but what I am saying is the computer does a lot of the work to the point where it's not actually the player which is, you know, making the difference in the game. Now this kind of links to my next point, which is where football is a team game where you have to work together, and FIFA's more just like a solo play by yourself game. I think that's why it's so hard to get behind FIFA esports, because there's none of that drama, there's none of that, you know, team passion or anything like that, like where if you score a goal there's gonna be like 10 of you celebrating together because you've all worked together to score a goal. There's none of like that team cooperation in FIFA, and now I know there is in pro clubs, but EA don't push that as a competitive game mode. If FIFA is ever to be a proper esport, I think pro clubs has to be the mode that, you know, that they go for, because it eliminates the computer interference, because there's 11 people on a team, meaning that the computer isn't doing anything. You're working as a team, so, you know, there's a lot more cooperation, there's a lot more, you know, engagement, you can hear things, you know. It's not just, you know, a bunch of robots playing a game. I personally think pro clubs would be much more entertaining for the viewers to watch as well. The only problem is when it comes to like a pro clubs tournament, there's 11 people on a team opposed to one, which means you're going to have, you know, 11 times the amount of people going to these events, which would obviously cost a lot more money for EA, because instead of having like 64 people going, there'd be like 700 plus people going, and like that's probably difficult. It's difficult to like hold an event with that many people for starters, and it would just probably be a mess. I don't know. But yeah, guys, they are the main reasons I think FIFA is failing as an esport, and they are the things that I think EA need to look at changing if they are to push the game as an esport in the future. But yeah, feel free to drop a comment down below sharing your opinion on this topic and what you think about it, because I am interested to hear what you guys think about FIFA esports, whether you think it's failing, whether you think it's successful, what you think EA need to do in the future in order to make it better, all that kind of good stuff. And yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this video, because if you have, I would appreciate it if you could drop it a like, subscribe to the channel if you're new so you never miss out on any videos like this one, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you are notified when a video is posted. And with all that aside, guys, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I will catch you all later for another upload. Peace.